In the shadowy world of global intelligence, the most lethal weapon is not a bullet or a high-tech gadget, but the complex mechanics of the human mind. How do you break a person's loyalty? How do you transform a dedicated patriot into a calculated traitor who sells their country's deepest secrets for a price? Elite agencies like the CIA and the KGB have spent decades perfecting this dark art, distilling human vulnerability into a ruthless four-letter formula known as MICE. This isn't just theory, it is a psychological map of the human soul, identifying the precise cracks where pressure can be applied to shatter a person's identity. Money, ideology, coercion, and ego. These are the four pillars of recruitment, the four fundamental keys that can unlock even the most guarded vaults of information. To understand the double agent is to understand the darkest corners of human nature, where survival, greed, and belief collide in a high-stakes game of shadows. Every betrayal starts with a single signature, or a whispered promise. Once the line is crossed, there is often no turning back from the world of espionage. Recruiters act as predators, scanning for these specific traits. They look for the man who is too deep in debt, or the woman who feels her talent is ignored. In this video, we will decode the MICE formula, exploring how each element is used to manipulate, break, and rebuild individuals into weapons of mass intelligence. We begin with the first and perhaps most obvious letter, M, for money. In the world of secrets, loyalty often has a very specific, negotiable price tag. Money is the simplest and most effective motivator. It appeals to the universal human desire for security, luxury, or quite often, a desperate need for survival. A target with gambling debts, failed investments, or an extravagant lifestyle beyond their means is a prime candidate. Financial pressure creates a vulnerability that is easily exploited. When an agent starts prioritizing the numbers in their bank account over their sworn oath to their country, they have already taken their first step toward betrayal. Take the case of Aldrich Ames, a high-ranking CIA officer. Driven by financial strain and a desire for wealth, he became one of the most damaging moles. Ames sold the identities of every major CIA source in the Soviet Union for over $4 million, trading human lives for a life of luxury and status. For many, money provides the illusion of power and an escape from a mundane reality. It is a tangible reward for an intangible act of treason. The transaction is usually small at first, a few $1,000s for a harmless document. This builds a pattern of behavior that recruiters call the slippery slope. Once a target accepts money, they are compromised. They can no longer claim innocence, and the recruiter now has a financial hook to pull them deeper. Greed is a bottomless pit. In the history of espionage, more people have turned traitor for cold, hard cash than for any other reason in the book. The allure of an anonymous account in Switzerland or a hidden stash of bills under the floorboards is a powerful lure for those who feel undervalued. But while money is powerful, it is often fleeting. The second letter, I for ideology, taps into something much deeper and more dangerous, the human belief system. Ideology is the battle of ideas. When an individual believes that their own government is wrong and the enemy's vision is right, they become a true believer. These agents don't see themselves as traitors. Instead, they view their actions as a moral necessity, serving a higher purpose or a global cause beyond national borders. They are often recruited during their formative years at universities, where radical ideas take root and the desire to change the world is at its peak. The infamous Cambridge Five are the perfect example. These British elites were motivated by a deep commitment to communism, betraying their country for decades without pay. For an ideological agent, the information they provide is a weapon to be used in the service of their chosen doctrine, making them incredibly resilient to traditional interrogation. Recruiters look for signs of disillusionment. They find those who feel the current system is broken and offer them a role in a secret, superior revolution. By aligning the recruitment with the target's personal values, the handler becomes a mentor, and the act of espionage becomes a sacred duty for the agent. This bond is harder to break than a financial one. An ideological spy is a volunteer of the mind, driven by a conviction that survives even the threat of death. In the modern era, ideology can be even more diverse, range from religious extremism to techno-libertarianism, each providing a new framework for potential betrayal and recruitment. When belief is weaponized, the individual becomes a ghost in the machine, operating within the system while secretly working to dismantle it from the very inside. But what happens when a person doesn't want to flip? That is where the third letter comes in, C for coercion, the brutal art of the push. Coercion is the dark side of intelligence work. It is about leverage, blackmail, and using a person's private secrets as a cage to trap them forever. Agencies often use honey traps, orchestrating romantic or sexual encounters to capture compromising footage. Once the evidence exists, the target's life is no longer their own. The message is simple: work for us, or we will destroy your family, your career, and your reputation. Fear is a powerful and immediate motivator. Coercion exploits the instinct for self-preservation. It is about finding the one thing a target cannot afford to lose and holding it hostage for information. This is often referred to as compromat, a Russian term for compromising material. It is a tool of pure psychological violence, leaving the target with zero choices. In the digital age, coercion has moved to the web. Leaked emails, private messages, or browser history can all be used as digital shackles for recruitment. The relationship in coercion is not one of partnership, but of master and slave. The agent operates under a constant, crushing cloud of impending personal ruin. Over time, this pressure can lead to psychological collapse. A coerced agent is often the most unstable, prone to making mistakes due to extreme, unceasing stress. Yet, despite the risks, coercion remains a staple of intelligence agencies worldwide because it produces results when all other softer methods of persuasion fail. It is the technique of pushing a target into a corner until their original loyalty is ground down into nothing but a desperate need to survive. But even more subtle than fear is the desire for validation. We move now to the final and perhaps most complex letter, E, for ego. Ego is the silent killer of loyalty. Many spies turn not for money or belief, but because they believe they are far smarter than everyone around them. This is the disgruntled employee syndrome. It affects the brilliant analyst who was passed over for promotion, or the field officer who feels unappreciated by leadership. FBI agent Robert Hanssen is a prime example of an ego-driven mole. He didn't just sell secrets, he enjoyed the thrill of outsmarting both the FBI and KGB. For someone like Hanssen, espionage was a grand game of chess where he was the only master. He sought the thrill of being the ultimate puppeteer. Recruiters appeal to this narcissism. They tell the target that they are the only ones who truly understand the situation, providing the recognition their superiors deny. A well-placed compliment can be more effective than $1 million. By making the agent feel like a hero, the recruiter builds an unbreakable emotional bond. Ego-driven spies often keep trophies or detailed logs of their betrayals, taking pride in the sheer scale of the damage they have managed to inflict. They want to be the secret architect of history, the invisible hand that moves the world while remaining undetected by those they consider their intellectual inferiors. But this arrogance is also their greatest weakness. Their need for recognition eventually leads them to take risks that lead to their inevitable exposure and downfall. The ego demands an audience. Even a secret spy eventually feels the need to show off their brilliance, creating the very trail that investigators will follow. While we have looked at these elements individually, in the real world of espionage, they are almost always used in a lethal, combined form. MICE is not a checklist, it is a chemical reaction. A recruiter might start with money to build a habit, then use ideology to justify the betrayal. They might use coercion to force the first step, then pivot to ego stroking to make the agent feel like they are a valued partner instead of a victim. Modern intelligence agencies use advanced algorithms to scan for these vulnerabilities, creating a data-driven approach to human manipulation that is more precise than ever. The formula remains the same, but the delivery systems have changed. Social media is now a goldmine for identifying the ego, ideology, and financial status of targets. A hacker might find a target's financial troubles through a data breach, and then use that information to initiate a money or coercion-based recruitment. The MICE formula creates a psychological trap from which there is almost no escape. Once you are in the web, every move you make only tangles you further. Throughout history, the greatest intelligence successes and failures have all pivoted on these 4 points. They are the universal language of human betrayal. Handlers are trained to be psychological chameleons, becoming whatever the target needs them to be: a friend, a financier, a fellow revolutionary, or a threatening shadow. The ultimate goal is to replace the agent's original identity with a new one that is entirely subservient to the needs of the recruiting agency. It is a quiet, invisible war. It happens in cafes, on dating apps, in boardrooms, and in the most mundane corners of our everyday lives. MICE is effective because it targets the fundamental aspects of being human: Our needs, our beliefs, our fears, and our pride are all on the table. In the age of AI and big data, the ability to exploit these vulnerabilities has scaled to a global level, making psychological defense a matter of national security. Understanding this formula is the first step in recognizing the signs of manipulation, both on an individual level and as a society as a whole. As we conclude our journey into the MICE formula, we see that the battlefield of the future isn't just physical, it's deeply and permanently psychological.
But I want a lawyer.
The technology changes, the ideologies shift, and the currencies evolve, but the basic wiring of the human brain remains remarkably constant across the centuries. Betrayal is a human story. It's a story of how easily we can be broken when someone finds the right key for the lock on our soul. MICE is the blueprint for that key. It is a reminder that no matter how strong we think we are, everyone has a price, a belief, or a fear. The shadows of the Cold War still haunt our modern world. The techniques developed in Berlin are now being used in the Silicon Valleys of the future. Always remember that in the game of shadows, the most dangerous enemy is the one that knows your heart better than you know it yourself. Be vigilant. The formula for recruitment is all around you, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to turn your own mind against you. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the art of psychological warfare. Stay curious, stay informed, and always guard the secrets of your own mind.